I think people get really confused, and everyone that I've met and talked to about nonprofits, really, like, at the end of the day, there are three main things that guide you when you are actually doing a nonprofit. And so, like, what are those three components, especially from the get-go, especially from the beginning? Really, the first one is your mission. Like, what are you about? What is the point? Your mission statement is who you're going to be helping by doing what. So it's the who and the what. It's why your organization exists. It talks about what the problem is and how you will change the world. Your vision statement is the statement that answers what the world would look like if your whole nonprofit has become completely successful. So yeah, I think it's really important to get that clear.
Hi, my name is Melissa, and I'm here to encourage and teach you how to run the nonprofit of your dreams. Your purpose may be to start a nonprofit, but my purpose is to empower and equip you to set up your nonprofit to run with compliance, integrity, and sustainability. I bring my years of experience running a board, working with nonprofits as an employee, a manager, and a consultant so that you can avoid the pitfalls that I've witnessed firsthand. I created Pursuit of Purpose with a powerful mission to connect people to their purpose. I believe that you were given a people group or a cause that matters to you, and you're one of the passionate people on this planet who has committed their desire to do something about it. My goal is to help people like you by starting, improving, and sustaining their nonprofit through my experiences, resources, and consultations. My hope is that you and all of our nonprofit champions listening can each make our corner of the world a better place. So let's turn your passion into action. If you're wanting to have honest, relatable, and informative conversations around what it really takes to run a nonprofit, you've come to the right place.
Well, hello. It's time for another podcast. Welcome. This is the POP Podcast, a podcast for nonprofit founders. Those of you who are watching the video, this is Samson. He's our whippet. He's our resident nonprofit executive. Just kidding. This is his office. It's not my office. But yeah, so welcome back to another podcast. I actually have, and I'm going to try very carefully to not mess up my podcasting setup because it's very precarious at the situation. Side rant is that, like, this is so much harder than I thought it was going to be. There's such a learning curve to starting a nonprofit podcast. Good boy. Samson just got cuddled and snuggled into the blanket. Okay, I finally got a Yeti. So this is a microphone. So hopefully I'm nice and clear now. The last podcast was fine, but it's just going to hopefully help with the audio quality. So I'm really excited for that. Hopefully this whole podcast is really helpful. But anyway, jumping into the episode, this is something I'm so passionate about, and it's mission and vision. So this is episode 2 of season 1, mission and vision. And so I kind of wanted to talk through a little bit about what's so important about a mission and vision. And I actually have a document. Let's see, starting a nonprofit. But yeah, basically, I have a couple of things that I want to talk about with a vision and a mission statement and like why they're so important. Basically, I think when you think about starting a nonprofit, it's going to be a lot of components. I think people get really confused, and everyone that I've met and talked to about nonprofits, um, really, like, at the end of the day, there's there are three main things that guide you when you are actually doing a nonprofit. And so, like, what are those three components, especially from the get-go, especially from the beginning? Really, the first one is your mission. Like, what are you about? What is the point? Your mission statement is who you're going to be helping by doing what. So it's the who and the what. It's why your organization exists. It talks about what the problem is and how you will change the world. Your vision statement is the statement that answers what the world would look like if your whole nonprofit has become completely successful. So, yeah, I think it's really important to get that clear. Like, what is the point between a mission and a vision statement? Mission is like who and what. It's kind of that more tactical, like if you think about like in a battle planning, your mission is like what you're going to do. And then the vision is like end the war, for example. So that's just like a very like, terse version of like how to break that down. We're going to talk a little bit about it today. I actually have a $97 launch pad that I've talked about in the last episode, but basically, if you're interested in starting a nonprofit, you want to learn more about it. There's this like little launch pad. I've got just like a couple of like templates and things like that that I'll walk you through in um, the next couple of episodes as well to give you just kind of like a sneak peek. But if you want all of the stuff, all the answers to your nonprofit questions, this is going to be really what's helpful for you. I've talked to people and they're like, I could probably just Google it. And I've had clients that have tried Googling it, and it is just the internet is such a cesspool of information sometimes that it's like you start to type out one thing and then boom, like 12 other things come up that you're like, now I have 90,000 more questions than I started with, which is great. And it's good to be curious and it's good to be thorough, but it does have a lot of faff when you try to do it on your own. And the goal with this $97 launch pad is to like, one, make it really affordable and accessible for people who want to be passionate about serving their communities. This is the point of nonprofits. Um, and then the other side of it really is like, once you commit to wanting to do that and filling the gap in society that you see the need for, and you're passionate and committed to solving that problem for, how do you do it in a way that is compliant? How do you do that in a way that is sustainable for the long haul? How do you do it in a way that rallies people around you to actually be a part of this thing you're passionate about? Because if you're passionate about it, there's a good chance you can get a couple other people on board. Okay, so that is my beginning of the spiel, my intro to my dog, and my Yeti recording equipment. This was refurbished, by the way, which I highly recommend refurbished things because I'm running my own business and every dollar counts because I'm giving back as well. It's always important to give back. Okay, so mission and vision statement. What are some key tips that you have? Okay, so if you don't already know this, this podcast is brought to you completely at this point by my current business, which is Pursuit of Purpose Nonprofit Consulting. Um, Basically, what I do is one of two things. One is helping people start a nonprofit here in the United States specifically. And then I also help with strategic planning and grant writing. So, kind of some of those pieces that are meant to help you be sustainable in the long haul. How do you like plan for that? How do you adjust when there's a wrench thrown into your plan? So, really, think about it as starting and sustaining a nonprofit. That is my goal. And so, Pursuit of Purpose is why I started this podcast. I saw a lot of people that had questions and needed answers, and I was going live on Facebook every week for about half an hour every Friday morning. And then I was like, you know what? We have a ton of people watching these replays, and it was a closed Facebook group, which was great in some senses, but it also meant that it was limited to the access people had. So, taking that, I actually want to apply like a vision and a mission. We're going to co-create here what a vision and a mission statement looks like for this podcast. So basically, like, who or what am I trying to help? So this podcast has a purpose, and that is to help young nonprofit founders, young not as an age, but as in like beginning stages of your nonprofit journey, to be sustainable and compliant in forming and acting out in your nonprofit. So, what am I doing to help my demographic? I am educating, hopefully, listeners about what a nonprofit is, the importance of a nonprofit, why you should start a nonprofit if it's something you're thinking about, and at the end of the day, like, what does it take to be a nonprofit founder? I'm trying to answer these questions. And I'm going to bring on some incredible, I've worked so hard on this already, incredible speakers that are going to join me for some of these quick chats. We're going to have Q&As, we're going to have panels. It's going to be amazing. So who or what am I going to help you, hopefully? What am I doing putting out these informational podcasts, doing these informational interviews so that you have access for free to get questions answered. Why do you need help? Why does my podcast in this case, but in your case, it might be why does your nonprofit need to solve the issue at hand? And this is something I could talk about literally for days, and I'm going to be talking about it all year long, is I really believe in people. I know like right now, especially, I live in the United States, it is like a sort of emotional time for a lot of people. There's a lot of tension going on. And, if we're honest, like I was talking to a friend of mine. She actually has been a business coach for as long as I've had my business. And so she and I have like worked together quite a bit over the years. Um, and we were just checking in, and I was like, this is shout out to Shannon. I know you listen to some of these things. um, but right now, is the most important time for people to be stepping up their nonprofit game. We need nonprofits more than ever. We need people who are compassionate, who are empathetic. I know that word is being tossed around this week. But we really do. We need people who will step outside of themselves and do something great for the greater good. And if that means helping, um, you know, provide housing assistance for those that are facing homelessness or housing insecurity of any kind, if that means, um, helping with financial literacy. I was on a call with Ciro Castelli. He's one of my good friends and a nonprofit CPA. We're going to have him on later this year in the podcast. But he's passionate about delivering really digestible information for people to start nonprofits, but also to run them compliantly in a way that is done with integrity through our nonprofit like bookkeeping. There are just so many essential pieces that make the world go round that, Ciro, for example, is great at nonprofit accounting. Am I? I bring Ciro in. He is the expert, and I know this. So all that to say, like, this podcast is you know, me kind of being a point person and like this podcast being a source of information, but like bringing in experts, bringing in other people that will be able to help answer questions and provide insight. Um, so yeah, honestly, like that's kind of so if you're looking at your pursuit of purpose, um, like the essence, your mission and vision statement should always bring you like boil down into the essence of what it matters. Um, okay, so yeah, I went on a long rant answering the question, why does this podcast solve the issue of people not knowing where to start with a nonprofit? It's because people don't know where to start. Okay, a couple of key tips. And I do have some worksheets on this. Again, that is part of my like proprietary information with my $97 Launchpad, which I can link in the show notes. But basically, you're going to want to do a couple of key things. I'll pull some of these forward from that document that I share with people. But keep it short and simple. Keep using welcoming, positive, inviting language, particularly with like your mission statement, the tactical sentence saying like what you're going to be doing. Um, you want it to be inviting language because at the end of the day, like you're going to want to have people join your cause, right? We are stronger when we are together. And that means like if we have a cause that we're going to be doing something for, funding is obviously like a very helpful piece of running a nonprofit here in the United States, especially if you're a 501c3, which we'll talk more about what that means in a later call. And if you listen to podcast episode one, we talked about 501c3s there too, which again, not everyone's cup of tea, but it is fine. And then, yeah, making sure it's so short and simple, sweet, concise, positive, welcoming, inviting language, making sure that it's easy to understand. One tip that's really helpful is taking your mission and vision statement to somebody who's outside of your field, maybe somebody that's not familiar with like housing insecurity or financial literacy or I don't know, whatever your nonprofit's about. Um, so for example, this is like a really good example actually. If you are in the education field, don't use education specific language. It should be easy for the passerby to grasp what you're thinking. So, again, think donors. Think if somebody was invited to a gala that you were throwing, in a couple of years from now after starting your nonprofit, will they be able to understand, like, hey, your friend Joe brought a date to the gala. Um, you start talking about like higher education and you use a bunch of lingo that Joe's date doesn't know a thing about, they're not going to give. Make it easy to understand. Make it approachable. That's a good word for it, actually. And then a fourth tip is remember that this guide will direct your organization. So make sure that your mission and vision statement reflect your true north so that when tough decisions come, you know what's most important. Again, I have a worksheet on this, and it gives you like examples of mission statements. It has vision statement examples from different blogs that I really like. But yeah, that's really all I have for today. I know this is like one of the shorter episodes that we'll have, but if you are a business or a nonprofit and you would like to sponsor the Pursuit of Purpose or the POP podcast for nonprofit founders, we would love to have you. We do have the $97 Launchpad. So if you're somebody who's thinking about starting a nonprofit, this is exactly for you. There are people I know that have spent over $2,000 on basically the same content. Meet with me like 2 to 3 times after purchasing that, and we'll go over all your stuff. I will help you figure out what's good vision and mission statement, make sure we run it by a couple of people, give you my 2 cents. Um, and then the other thing really is, if you enjoy this podcast, if you're curious to see how it goes, please subscribe, follow, like, share all of the social media things. It really does make a difference, especially in the very beginning stages of starting a nonprofit podcast. I really just want to get the word out. If you know anybody who's working in a nonprofit or has founded a nonprofit, is on the board for a nonprofit, share it with them. They might have questions. They might get something out of listening to it, even. They can put it, then show notes into Chat GPT and get like the top 3 things they want from it. I don't care how you use it. As long as it helps people, this is the end goal. All right, I'll sign off. It is late here today. I will tell you, I need to work on my podcast setup. This is just ranting. So if you're done listening, you can stop now. It's not going to be informational except from the junk going on in my life. But I meant to bulk record, which for those of you who are not in the podcast world, I remember when I was there. But bulk recording is basically like if I had a day off or something like around Saturday, I could sit down and like pump out like 3 or 4 episodes. I'm probably going to start off with 2 back-to-back episodes because that's just a little bit more approachable. But yeah, it's honestly it's getting this set up with like I wish I could show you, but I'm scared to move my laptop. So for those of you who are seeing this like video content, it really is just like so many cords all over the place. It's driving me absolutely bonkers. I don't know how I focused. I think I was a little distracted. Anyway, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thank you for liking. If you want to work with me, just shoot me a message. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on everywhere but TikTok, but we'll get to TikTok one of these days. All right. Have a great rest of your day, guys, and good luck.